Imagine this. A group of English settlers, full of hope and ambition, lands on an uncharted island off the coast of North America in the late 1500s. They begin building what they hope will be the first permanent English colony in the New World. Fast forward just 3 years when a man returns to check on them and finds absolutely nothing. The settlement is abandoned. No people. No signs of a struggle. Just a single cryptic word carved into a post. Croatoan. What happened to these settlers? Did they vanish into thin air? Or is there a darker, more sinister story behind their disappearance? For centuries, historians have been baffled by the mystery of the lost colony of Roanoke. In this video, we'll unravel the facts, the theories, and the haunting questions that still surround one of the most puzzling disappearances in history. In the late 16th century, Europe was consumed by the quest for new lands. The idea of establishing permanent settlements in the New World was both a daring and ambitious venture. For the English, it was a way to compete with Spain and France in the race for colonial expansion. The story of the Roanoke Colony begins in 1584, when Queen Elizabeth I granted Sir Walter Raleigh a charter to establish a colony in North America. Raleigh sent 2 ships, commanded by Philip Amatus and Arthur Barlow, to explore the eastern coast of what is now the United States. Their mission was to assess the land's potential for settlement. They landed on the coast of what is today North Carolina and began to explore. They encountered the local Native American tribes, the Croatoan and the Croatoan, who were initially welcoming and even offered supplies. The English explorers described the land as lush and fertile, filled with abundant wildlife and resources. The beauty of the region seemed to make it an ideal location for a settlement. In 1585, Raleigh sent a second expedition, this time with over 100 men, to establish a colony on Roanoke Island. This was the first attempt at colonization. The settlers began to build their settlement, which they named Raleigh, but it quickly became clear that things were not going as planned. Relations with the local tribes began to sour due to misunderstandings and occasional skirmishes. Meanwhile, the settlers struggled with food shortages, harsh weather, and a lack of support from England. Despite these challenges, the colony survived for a time. But in 1586, disaster struck. A series of attacks from the local tribes led to the settlers retreating to their ships. They abandoned the colony, and the group returned to England. It seemed like the dream of establishing a permanent English colony in North America had failed. But Raleigh wasn't ready to give up. In 1587, he organized another expedition, this time with a different goal in mind: a permanent settlement. This time, John White, a seasoned artist and cartographer, was chosen as the governor of the new colony. White was tasked with overseeing the establishment of the settlement and ensuring its success. This new group of settlers consisted of 115 people, including men, women, and children. Upon their arrival on Roanoke Island, they began building homes and planting crops. However, conditions were just as difficult as before. The settlers struggled with finding enough food, and their relationship with the Native American tribes remained tense. At one point, the colonists even considered moving the settlement to a different location. As tensions mounted and supplies dwindled, White made a difficult decision. He left the colony in the summer of 1587 to return to England and gather more supplies and reinforcements. It was a decision that would change the course of history. White promised to return in a few months, but his journey was delayed by a war between England and Spain, the ongoing Spanish Armada conflict. The English ships could not return to Roanoke as planned. Finally, in 1590, White was able to return to the colony, but when he arrived on Roanoke Island, he found the settlement completely deserted. The homes were dismantled, and there was no sign of the colonists. The only clue left behind was a single word carved into a post: Croatoan. The word Croatoan referred to a nearby island and the Native American tribe that inhabited it. White had instructed the settlers to leave a message indicating their whereabouts if they decided to move, but the meaning of the word Croatoan was ambiguous. Did the settlers leave for the island voluntarily? Or had they been forced to leave, or worse, attacked by the Native Americans? White couldn't be sure. The mystery only deepened when he and his crew were unable to find any further signs of the colonists on Roanoke Island or the nearby areas. White searched the surrounding area for any signs of the missing settlers, but his efforts were in vain. He never found any trace of them. Theories about the fate of the Roanoke colonists began to emerge, but no definitive answers were ever found. Over the centuries, these theories would grow into one of the most enduring mysteries of American history. Some historians believe that the colonists were absorbed by the Croatoan tribe. They may have sought refuge there due to their dwindling resources and strained relations with other Native American groups. But why would they carve the word Croatoan if that were the case? Was it meant to indicate their peaceful relocation? Or was it a cry for help? Did the tribe take them in, or did the colonists meet a tragic end? Another theory suggests that the settlers, unable to survive on Roanoke Island, attempted to move further inland. Some believe they may have reached the Chowan River or even the Appalachian Mountains. But if this were the case, why didn't White find any trace of them? No artifacts, no remains, no signs of a larger migration. It's one of the biggest unanswered questions. Yet another theory proposes that the settlers were victims of disease, starvation, or attack from other Native American tribes in the region. The colony was isolated, and without adequate support or communication from England, survival was increasingly difficult. Some believe the settlers succumbed to the harsh conditions and perished, leaving no trace behind. Still, there's no evidence to confirm this. Perhaps one of the most intriguing theories suggests that the disappearance of the Roanoke colonists was part of a larger, more complex story. Some researchers speculate that the settlers may have been lost to time, their fate hidden by subsequent generations, or perhaps even intentionally erased from history. Despite all the research and speculation, no one knows for certain what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. Did they survive? Did they leave a message? Were they killed? Or did they vanish into the wilderness? The mystery of Roanoke remains unsolved, a haunting enigma from the early days of American history. The disappearance of the Roanoke colony is more than just a story about settlers lost to time. It's a symbol of the dangers and uncertainties faced by the early pioneers of the New World. The fate of the Roanoke colonists continues to inspire curiosity, and the mystery endures as one of the most fascinating chapters in the history of early American colonization. In the end, the lost colony of Roanoke reminds us of the fragility of human ambition, the uncertainty of exploring unknown lands, and the ever-present possibility that some mysteries may never be solved. Let me know your theories in the comments and subscribe for more timeless tales.